Yeah.
So, but there was never a time that your B-24s were ferried on an aircraft carrier. They were flown everywhere, right?
Oh yeah, you couldn't ferry them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought maybe they would crane them onto a carrier and take them over there, but they were flown the entire way.
Yes, had to be.
And at this point, by Truck Lagoon, was there a B-29 in action at that point?
No.
It wasn't even built yet.
B-29 wasn't there yet.
Okay, so that came out two years later almost.
Yeah, more than that.
By that time you were there. So the Americans knew that the Japanese were held up at Truck Lagoon. Did they come out and tell you that?
What?
Your commanding officers, did they come out and say, hey, the Japanese are held up at Truck Lagoon and we got to go get them?
Yeah, well, we knew that they were always there.
You did?
Sure. I mean, you could depend on it. And they had Zeros too.
Because that was their main port that they were working.
That was their Pearl Harbor in the Pacific.
Right. Exactly. So, how do you brief? Tell us about the briefing before you would go into a battle like that. Because let's say you had 20 B-24s in your mission. What would they tell you? Because the ships were lined up. They had what, recon pictures for you? Yes.
No, we didn't. I can't remember any pictures that they had, because unless the Navy PBYs would get them. And at the targets there was always a PBY that could help us, or a submarine. They called them lifeguard, and
they would be the guys to pick up any shot down pilots.
And in fact, we had one mission where the bombardier was getting rid of his bombs, and he went back. The narrow catwalk was only about 4 or 5 inches wide of the water, very narrow. And he went back to get rid of a couple of bombs that had hung up. And there were bombs that were high, and there were bombs that were low. So he got rid of a couple. He started with a low one, and he went over to, he triggered the bomb so it would drop, the one that was low. Then instead of going down and getting one low, he went and got the one high. It dropped off, and he and the bomb dropped in the Pacific Ocean.
He went with it. He was on your aircraft.
No, he was on a...
From your squadron?
Yes.
Well, that must have been awful.
It was.
So that kills morale a little bit when you get back home, huh?
Yes, it did.
Yeah, that's really sad, but you lost a lot of friends, I imagine.
Not too many. That didn't happen too much, because when the bomb went, it knocked the other bomb lower.
Right.
So.
Right. But as far as losses from your squadrons, did you lose some friends, and were any of the planes shot down?
Not too many. We didn't lose too many.
Well, that's good.
Yes.
You guys were lucky, because Europe was a whole nother story.
Yes.
Because they had the Germans over there. They were pretty gnarly.
Entirely different.
Yeah. So Truck Lagoon would have been the majority of your combat, or did you?
I think it was the majority of our combat.
Okay.
I mean,
how many times did you sortie there yourself?
About, let's see, I would judge about 32.
Wow. So that was a big campaign.
It was. That was one of our big campaigns to keep the heads down, you know?
Right, and that really did change the course of the war, actually.
It did.
So congratulations and thank you for your service, because those Japanese weren't going to give up.
I know they were.
They weren't going to give up.
They were tough.
Tough enemy. To the death.
Yes. Okay.
So now, what happened after Truck Lagoon? You guys were victorious there, and you sank, I think, somewhere around 100 and some ships.
We moved to the Marianas, and we moved to the Mariana Turkey Chute.
What's that now?
That was a big, the Marianas was closer to Japan. And we had to I forget the name of the doggone target, so I can't remember that. It's, what was it? Marianas.
Kwajalein?
No, it wasn't Kwajalein.
Well, what was the idea, though? The idea was that once we took out Truck and the majority of their Navy, we were looking to start to invade Japan at that point, so we were moving closer.
Closer, yeah. It was a Marianas Turkey Chute. That was what they called it, because they got enough power in there to call it that. and the Japanese. Well, we flew a reconnaissance mission with the Navy, and we had one B-24 on the wing, and this was a Navy B-24 that had the cameras with it. So we asked them at the briefing. We said, well, at the briefing, they said, if we have problems, they're talking about this time. They're talking about the aircraft with the camera. If we have problems, you'll have to drop back to covers with your firepower. And I said, what happens if we have problems? He said, we're not going to drop back. So that went over like a lead sled. That's the truth.
Yeah, I believe it. Let me ask you one question about those formation flying that I didn't ask.
Yeah.
And if you guys are flying that tight and you have enemy aircraft coming into the zone, how do the gunners not hit your own aircraft? Because, I mean, aren't they tracking a fighter?
Sometime they did.
That's scary.
Not too much, but sometime they did. But we'd call our own fighters out, like Zeke at 12 o'clock, 6 o'clock, wherever, by positions at the clock. That's what we used to do.
Right.
So we did the best we could.
Well, it must have gotten kind of crazy up there when all the guns started going off.
It wasn't too bad because
it was pretty controlled.
It was noisy anyway.
Yeah.
So you didn't.
That's true.
But the fire, like I was under the 50 calibers on the flight deck, and the machine guns are firing right over my head.
It must have been really loud.
It was loud.
Yeah, boy.
Yeah.
Did you actually ever witness any fighters being shot down?
Oh yes. Yeah, that was nice.
Nice, yeah. So you had escorts in the Pacific, though. Were they primarily Corsairs?
No, we didn't have no fighter escort ever.
Ever?
That I can remember.
I guess you didn't need them because there wasn't much ground fire. I don't know.
Ground fire wouldn't have made any difference. With the fighter aircraft, we would be worried about, but we didn't have any.
It was too far out there.
No,
they didn't have the resources to get the fighters to you.
They didn't have a way to get the fighters out there.
Right. Okay.
And then when the P-51 came in, it was different. The P-51 had the range and the firepower and the wherewithal to get there.
Right.
The P-51 was great for us. It was great in Europe too.
Sure was. Well, that's one of the finest aircraft ever made.
I flew it.
And of course, you have time on the P-51.
Yes.
Do you have a favorite airplane to fly?
If I had to go back to war tomorrow, I'd use the P-47.
That's your baby, isn't it?
Yes, because it has everything I need. I could fly. It weighed 7 tons, had 8 machine guns, and a handle like a Piper Cub.
Oh, you're kidding! With that big giant engine.
That's you would talk to P-47 pilots, they'll tell you the same thing. Because I ferried a lot of them to the junkyard,
right,
Bridge, Arkansas.
Now, tell us a little bit about the difference between, say, that P-47 and a P-51 performance as a pilot. But what made the 47 better?
It made, if the P-47 could transfer all the weight that it had into speed, and it was rugged, it could take punishment. The P-51 could too, but not as much as the P-47. So that's what I say, if I had to fly a fighter, it'd be that.
And you think the agility is similar? You don't think the 51 outperforms
it?
The
P-51 must have it on the agility, as you say.
But the old jug is a tank, huh?
Oh yeah.
That's what you want if you really go into combat.
Yeah.
A lot of guys say that. They still say that, just like you.
Yeah.
So have you been to American Air Power over there in Long Island? That's Republic Airport where they were built, and the cover shot on the calendar, that's where that lives.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll take you up there sometime.
That should be great.
Yeah, you'd probably like that, huh?
Yeah.
All right, let's get back now. We want to get through, we're through truck now, and that must have felt pretty amazing to have taken out all those ships and truck. I mean, did you guys get back to the base that night and chat it up? What happened?
No, we dropped our bombs and got the hell out of there. That's what better about it too. But I know that a lot of shipping dropped down the bottom.
Oh yeah, like 160 ships.
People still keep telling us how many ships dropped out there, but I don't know, did we wipe them out?